we want to accept the reward from the rewarder, we have to be willing to do what he asks us to do. Be that person every day. Be a doer of the word, not simply a hearer, deceiving ourselves, as James says. Faith without works is dead. We demonstrate our trust by doing. And finally, the third aspect of faith is generally not something that most of us would ever think about. We generally haven't ever really equated it, although if we took just a brief survey of our language, we would recognize that we use faith in lots of different ways. Like, I have faith that the football game is going to be played tonight. That's a belief thing. I believe it's going to be played tonight. Or, I have faith in Jonathan's ability to give me the right address. I trust him. I'm here because I followed his instructions. We also talk about faith in terms of faithfulness. I'm faithful to my spouse. I'm a faithful follower of the Jacksonville Jaguars. You must have to be. I'm faithful to the church. So we use those terms a little bit differently. It's not really trust, and it's not really believe. What is that thing? It's loyalty. Loyalty. It's that ability to stick by something no matter what the circumstances are. It's that trust idea magnified to the nth degree. You see, that's the kind of faith that Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego had. They had that head belief. They believed in God. They trusted in Him, so therefore they decided not to bow down. And through that action, they demonstrated that trust. But through their words and their follow-through, they said, even if God doesn't save us, we will still stick by it. That loyalty is really the key. Because anybody can trust for a little while, especially while things are going well. But when times get hard, when life interrupts our life, when we look around and we can't really see God, what's the choice going to be then? Hebrews chapter 11, again, verse 17, we're talking about Abraham there, doing something that I just cannot imagine. Here it says, by faith Abraham, when he was tested, offered up Isaac. And he who had received the promises was in the act of offering up his only son, of whom it was said, through Isaac shall your offspring be named. So when we think about this whole promise that God and Abraham, this pact that they had made, this covenant that was between them, that whole covenant was based in Isaac specifically. And Abraham knew that as he was climbing that hill. Now, I traveled here from Savannah with my son who's 9. Now, I don't know if you've ever traveled with a child. For the most part, it can be stress-free, but if you have more than one child, especially, you can have some stressful trips. This was a 3-day journey. Abraham. And you know what happens when kids get on the travel? What happens? Questions start coming. When are we going to get there, Dad? My son literally said this, what time exactly are we going to get there? I don't have any idea. Kids ask those questions. Every kid does. He's not unique. Well, guess what? If we go back to Genesis, we read some of those questions that Isaac had for his dad. Hey, Dad, we've got this, got the mule, got the servants. We got the wood, but where's the lamb for the sacrifice? Now, most trips are pretty much benign, and we really only go out of our mind when those questions are persistent, like, are we there yet? Are we there yet? Are we there yet? Are we there yet? Then when, stress starts happening. No. Or when the kids are in the back seat, punching each other in the mouth. That's when the stress level starts going up. Can you imagine the stress that Abraham was under? He knew the journey he was going on. He was about to have to offer up his only son. He knew he was going to be the one to pull the dagger and flush it into his flesh, ending his life. But read what was going through Abraham's mind. This is kind of a unique thing where we get to look into the brain of Abraham. And this is what it says. In verse 19 it says, he considered that God was able even to raise him from the dead, from which, figuratively speaking, he received him back. That's loyalty. That's loving God more than your own flesh and blood. That's following God no matter what. No matter what circumstances, no matter what illness, no matter what tragedy happens in your life, you're following God no matter what. That's loyalty. And that's faith. Believing in God. Believing so much that you're willing to trust and do what it is He's asked you to do. And trusting Him to the degree that no matter what happens, no matter what obstacles come up in life, that you will follow Him no matter what. Loyalty. That is faith. And the question this morning is, do you have that faith? We don't talk about faith a whole lot because it's kind of part of that culture. But do you have that faith? When you lift the hood on the spiritual life that you have, and you're looking at that part of faith and you take it apart, what part's missing for you? Do you believe God? Do you trust Him? And are you willing to demonstrate that to the day you die? That's the question that you have this morning. Because if you want to be a part of this life that we call Christianity, it's impossible to do so. It's impossible to please God without faith. If you don't have it, we'd like to pray with you, love you, and help guide you to that path of faith. If you want to please God, you have to start by obeying Him, trusting Him, by